I watched a movie. How many of you have seen the Joy Luck Club? One, two. How many people have seen that? It's just a wonderful movie. I just love that movie. I think it's like 93 or 94. Have you seen the movie? It's Chinese. It's like three women. And it's the story of when they were little girls and the incredible hardships in China. Just unbelievable stories. Have you seen it, Alan? And then they come to America and they have three daughters. And so the movies are basically about the relationship between the mothers and the daughters. And I have always just been tremendously touched by that movie. It was just lovely. If you've not seen it, I think you would really enjoy it. And I've always remembered this one moment in that movie. And when I say always remember, I mean really it's like it's come back to me over and over, over 13, 14, 15 years. And it came back again basically from the Dharma talk that I gave 2 Sundays ago. This was the talk where I was telling you all about why I had decided to stay in Long Beach rather than hit the road. So just, I've had this plan for a long time to actually maybe move to a little maybe village or someplace and sort of romantically Italy. But I've had this idea of writing a book for a long time, and so this was like so the talk was about how I had come to the conclusion that I wasn't ready to leave, and that so with some sadness, because it's always sad, when to give something up that you're looking forward to, and also it's all when you have this idea that you don't have that many more chapters in the book of your life, and when you're 74, you don't have that many chapters left. I'll just tell you all that now, and you'll find that out later. So anyway, it was the Dharma talk was it was on YouTube, and I got just a number of just beautiful emails. So anyway, I had a number of people commented on the fact that it was that there was an intimacy in terms of my talk and in sharing my personal story. So and I'm going to read you an email that someone just sent me just this morning. But so then that reminded me of this wonderful moment in the Joy Luck Club. Each of the mothers and their daughters have terrible problems, and then they work them out and just beautifully. But there are these amazing moments, and I've always had that feeling as a old somewhat retired psychotherapist that I don't think there's anything quite as close as the relationship with a mother and a daughter. It's just of a different order. The daughter and the mother, they're the same body, and so the connection and the problems that come from that are extraordinary. And of course, it can be amazingly close relationships and very distant relationships. So anyway, you see that in this movie of the mothers and the daughters. There was this one moment at the end of the movie, and the daughter she's very bitter, and she feels that the mother that she's never met her mother's expectations. She's always disappointed her, and she says, she has a cousin who's kind of does very well, and she feels that by comparison she doesn't do well. And the mother is very wise, and the daughter finally starts to cry, and the mother really breaks through. The mother really gets it and feels it, and she looks at her, and at one point she takes her face, but she says, "I see you." And when I saw that for the first time, I almost had tears in my eyes. That it's so amazing to be seen. Many of us have never been seen, really. That experience of being seen is the meaning of intimacy. That's what intimacy is, to feel that you have been seen. And I think it also, of course, would be to be able to see. If I can't see you because I project onto you what I need you to be, I need you to be something, so I don't see you. I see, the projections of what I want. That's not intimacy, is it? And if, and for sure, if I see you just as that mother saw she saw her daughter suffering, and she said, you're just exactly what you should be. You are exactly who you need to be. She said, you have style. But she said, I see you. And so, as I said, for me it was deeply touching, because I thought, so many of us have never really had that experience of being seen and or of seeing. Most of us, those of us who were not seen as children, or as we grew older, usually have a hunger to be seen. We have this need to be seen that never ends. It's always there, and so we're always looking for ourselves in the other person. Can you see me? And of course, that creates even a double problem, right? Because now I'm looking for you. Do you see me? And so how could I possibly see you, right, if I am looking for you to see me? And you could just say maybe that I have just stated the core problems of Western civilization. I mean, really and truly, it's true. We're desperately looking to be seen, And so who has the time to be seen, right? I mean, God, I need you to see me. And you need, and you need me to see you. And so there we are. There we go. So the Dharma talk that I gave, remember I was saying that the question in that was, are my lessons learned? Was I didn't attempt that to be my experiment in intimacy, but a number of people thought that it was a moment of intimacy. So anyway, I got this email, and I want to share it with you. I carefully left out anything that could be too personal, and so I wanted to talk. This little talk right now is about intimacy. And I guess, I'll just say it now because I as you can tell, that my brain is gone. But see, I think that what we just did for Anapanasati was intimacy. That's what we were trying to do. You were trying to be with yourself. You were trying to see yourself. So when I suggested, to try to bring, yourself now, after trying to get us all to a place of quietness, so that the mind is, my God, it's just like to get all the chickens right in the hen house, to get them to just quit squawking, right, so that they're just sitting there kind of silently minding. So then, if we can get that hen house quiet, then maybe we can begin to start seeing something behind that. What that is? What is this? And that's intimacy. So here's the email that I got. This person said, reflecting further on your video and comments, I understand more clearly why it appears to be something we're all doing in our own way. Avoiding intimacy with ourselves, with each other, and with life. I love this email. Thank you for sharing that and helping push me to see it. In the way of the Zen master you spoke of, batting the student with the metaphorical stick to wake up, I see myself doing it all the time. I'll be happy when X, Y, and Z, always some other time. I'll be happy when I get X, Y, and Z, always, right? Something in the future, always some other time. Avoiding my lessons, looking outward, I don't see it with full clarity yet, but can sense it more and more in myself, like a splinter that I can't get out or find. I feel the ache, but lack the solution. So I love this because it's a person who's saying that they experience the way they avoid being intimate with life. But reaching forward, always doing this, doing this, doing this, doing this, doing this, wanting this, wanting this, wanting this. Missing every moment of being here with this and this. And this. So anyway, I thought this was beautiful. So, there's a Zen teacher, I think he was in the time of Dogen, I'm not sure, who, I just wrote this down because he had this quote, meditation is the process of becoming intimate with oneself. How about that? The question is, how the hell do we do it, right? So, because unfortunately, what we tend to do is to forget that that's what we're doing, isn't it? We sit on our cushion and we're good boys and girls or whatever. We sit on our cushion, well, I'm going to be mindfulness to my breath, or I'm going to be whatever. But we forget that initial thing, that meditation is the process of becoming intimate with yourself. So, so that brings me to probably the most famous, certainly the Zen master Dogen. You all have heard this, but he said, studying the way, studying the Buddha way, studying the Dharma, is studying oneself. Studying oneself is forgetting oneself. Forgetting oneself is being enlightened by all things. You like that, don't you? So, what does forgetting yourself mean? Does that mean right? So it's like, it's like you disappear through meditation. I think that what it actually means is the other thing I'm going to read you, which I really love. This is something that was from a Mahayana scripture that was discovered in a ruined temple in Russia in the 1600s. And it was found, they didn't know what it meant forever, because it was in Tibetan, but it was finally translated maybe a couple hundred years later. So this is what it meant, and this is actually just kind of a typical, it's not like that special. But I love it because this goes back to this whole thing of, so what does it mean to forget yourself? Sitting in meditation, the Buddha way, is studying the self, studying oneself. And in studying yourself, you forget yourself. And in forgetting yourself, you become enlightened of everything. What does that mean? So this is what this guy said. How many... well, that's not what he said. Here it is. Those who really know first consider the welfare of sentient beings. Okay? If you really know, you're concerned with the welfare of all sentient beings. And then those who know this, try to explain it to others. This would be really kind of like a statement of what the Bodhisattva is. The Bodhisattva, right, wants to be enlightened for the sake of all beings. That's the kind of like the core Mahayana teaching. But anyway, so those who know first consider the welfare of sentient beings and then explain these things. The foolish do not understand this, nor understand the characteristics of phenomena. Okay, so far that's just kind of fancy. Okay, here's the killer sentence. The characteristics of all phenomena are perfectly explained to be transparent? What if you discover that yourself is transparent? What if you discover that yourself, right, is not this concrete, solid little me, right? Like an inch behind my eyes, this little Victor, or this little Eric, or this little Brad, or this little... But what if I discover in sitting in meditation that that I asked you to watch, right? What is this awareness that's watching? What if you discover that it's not a solid thing or a person or with a memory and a history, but a transparent, something transparent that is just awake. That would be what he meant by forgetting yourself. You are enlightened by all things. Yeah? Does that make sense? In other words, what this little guy said, the characteristics of all phenomena are perfectly explained to be transparent. Easy said, not easy found. Right? Okay, so I have one more little piece to this, and then I'm finished, and I'm going to go home and go to bed. Well, this is too much for me. This has been hard on me. This is kind of wonderful. This is like something that I didn't know. I like to know things I didn't know. So there's this king. What was his name? Menander. He was the king. It's very. All right. So there was this. He was actually at least half Greek and was king of a small little, I don't know what you would call it, principality in India. A long, long time ago. This is going to be about 300 years after the Buddha's death. So anyway, so this is a very famous scripture. He found this monk and he asked him all these questions, and the monk gave him all of these wonderful answers. So this is very famous, but this is something that I had not remembered, and I bet you don't remember this either, Brad. I don't remember it, but anyway, so he was asking this monk about what is faith and what is blah blah blah. So he said he says. How many factors of awakening are there? He asked this monk. We all know, right, there are 7 factors of awakening: mindfulness, investigation. Don't write them down, Terry. So he said. So the monk said there are 7 factors of awakening. So the king asked, "Well, how many of these factors actually awaken one?" Now, I had not heard this one. Of the 7 factors, he said, which is the one that actually awakens? Have you heard this, Brad? He said, so how many of these factors actually awaken one? And so the monk said, just one of them, sir. Investigation into things. That's the second factor of awakening. The first factor is mindfulness. Out of mindfulness comes... there's a Pali word for it, investigation into things. That's what we're doing. When I asked you to watch the breath, anapanasati, and then when I said, let's then try to investigate, I didn't use that word, but try to now move to the feeling of awareness, what that knows. That's investigation into things. Or, another way to put it is, we're sitting to be intimate with ourselves, and that intimacy is an investigation of what this is. What is this? What is this? What is this? What is watching? Not even who is. What is? Investigation to what this is. What is it? As Zorba, the Greek, said, the full catastrophe, which I love. investigation into this, what this mind is, what this awareness is. And all of the stuff that we learn in terms of technique, anapanasati, or all of this stuff is just, these are just preliminary techniques to get the mind to be still enough to start to investigate into what, into what this is. And as the guy said, what the payoff is, if we get there, is that we discover all things are transparent. If all things are transparent, would that not include me? If all things are transparent, what isn't transparent? So, ironically, I'll end this tortured talk. Does that sound like intimacy? Maybe it doesn't, but it is. It's intimacy. Is if we go back to the joy luck and the mom looking at the daughter and she says, "I see you," right? I see you. That's what you're trying to do, and what I'm trying to do. We're trying to see what this is. What this is. What is it? You can't put a word or a name on it. It's only something that you can know deeply inside. But if you know that, how could you ever be lonely again? How could you ever feel a moment of loneliness if you see yourself? It's not possible. Not a moment of your life could you be lonely if you have seen yourself.